You've done it a number of times. You're an awful person and your future isn't looking that great. One day you go too far and finally get caned. Suddenly you realise everything you've done is wrong. You decide to change your ways. The day you got caned could have changed your future forever. We are going to convince you that corporal punishment should be brought back into New Zealand. My team includes Hillary, Frankie, Martin, Moss, Elliot and myself. Hillary, Frankie and Martin will be our topic presenters, Moss will be our rebuttal speaker, and Elliot will close our debate. Corporal punishment will discipline a child, and other children will see other children being smacked, and they will try not to be smacked. It will also teach them what is right and what is wrong. Rewarding someone for good behaviour could teach them what is right, but you can't reward somebody for bad behaviour. Corporal punishment also provides a fast punishment. It will save your time and the teacher's time. You wouldn't have to sit through detention. Our reasons to bring corporal punishment back into New Zealand are that other children will see that someone is being smacked and they won't want to be smacked, which is too hard to try. That will be debated by Hillary. It will teach them what is right and what is wrong, which will be debated by Frankie. And it provides a fast punishment, which will be debated by Martin. There are many reasons to bring corporal punishment back into New Zealand. Now the rest of my team will tell you more. The first reason why corporal punishment should be introduced is the example it sets for other children. If one child sees another child getting smacked for misbehaving, then they will realise that they will get smacked as well if they misbehave. And so any future bad behaviour is fixed. Take for example Homer Simpson, who is always strangling Bart when he has done something silly. This sets a great example for Lisa and Maggie, who see the corporal punishment on Bart. And as a result, they are very well-behaved children. My dad says that when he was at school, kids would get 6 strokes of the cane if they were naughty. This must have really hurt. Most kids would try and behave well so that they wouldn't get the cane. Both of these examples clearly show children that if they do something naughty, they will be smacked, and if they don't, they will be fined. To fundamentally find meaning and purpose in an individual's life, we must be taught what is right and what is wrong. To have an understanding of the world we live in, and to be accepted in society, we must hold values and morals which will guide us and help us to make these important decisions that we will face on an everyday basis. So how do we differentiate from what is right and what is wrong? In today's society, we are constantly being tempted by new ideas, as we are under the pressures of new influences. From an early age, it is expected that you should be taught the difference between right and wrong. Yes, sometimes our parents are considered the most irritating things on the planet, but they most importantly guide us to make some of the most important decisions in our lives.
In my opinion, I believe that detention is a waste of everybody's time and effort. Nobody enjoys it, especially the teachers, who'd rather be doing something more interesting. Detention is usually done out of school time, meaning that the teacher has to use his or her own time to look after students. After the students have finished their detention, they'll need to organise transport home and get home safely. I believe a short, sharp smack on the hands or backside will be the cure to make a quick and effective to settle. I believe a short, sharp smack on the hands or backside may be a quick and effective way to settle the problem. This makes the job much easier for the teachers and the students, and because of the short time and space needed to smack the child. Having the threat of getting the cane or strap is quite useful because that they behave a lot more better and stops them from behaving badly in the first place.
In the 1950s, it was not illegal for teachers to use corporal punishment. But now it is 2012 and the world is a different place. If teachers were allowed to strap children, they would be afraid to speak, contribute and ask questions in class. People say that corporal punishment helps kids learn, but if kids didn't ask questions, they they wouldn't learn anything. Kids need a non-violent, relaxed area that they feel comfortable and happy in, so they can always do their best. And everyone knows that if kids do their best, they'll have a higher chance of succeeding in life. At some point, teachers will use corporal punishment to tell a child off for using violence. If they do, they are not teaching the child anything because they are in fact using violence on that child. So therefore, the only thing they are teaching that child is that violence is okay. Think of all the trouble these kids would cause just because they think it is okay to hit others. Probably even more trouble than before they got punished, and that would be a disaster because the result of that would be more people going to jail. In some cases, corporal punishment can lead to extreme child abuse. Teachers do not have the right to all that power over children. A good example of giving teachers too much power is when a teacher was found guilty of gagging and blindfolding children. Is that the sort of environment you want your children growing up in? No, I certainly hope not. Children are humans too, and no one deserves to get hurt like that. If teachers had that sort of relationship with kids, there would be less people coming to school, and therefore less people getting jobs and more homeless people. So that's why today my team and I are here to prove to you that that teachers should not be able to use corporal punishment in New Zealand.
Children will be scared of talking and contributing in class. If they have a very strict teacher who likes to use a strap, the children would be scared of saying something that upsets the teacher. Some teachers go for the strap because it is easier than having to sort out a problem or having to think of another way of punishing the children. Children who know that the only way they are going to be punished is by being hit will choose not to say anything that will get them into trouble. No one likes getting a hiding.
Being hit by a teacher whom students are taught to respect can contribute to how the child acts around people and how they show emotion. Because of the way the child is treated, it can give them the idea it's okay to hit, smack others. Because the students think they can treat others the way they were treated, there can become more violence not only in schools but also in the community. This could lead further in life to violence within families and or relationships. When the child becomes an adult and a parent, they could assume it's okay to hit their own children the way they were hit by teachers. The majority of people who hit others were brought up with violence, as in being hit as a punishment by parents, teachers or caregivers. From being hit when they were young, rather than talking about it, they use the same technique on those in their care. This is why I do not approve of teachers hitting students.
Being okay to strap, cane or beat a human in a civilised environment. It is called assault. It's a criminal offence. So if it's not okay to do it in public, then how is it okay to do it in the classroom? Not only do children develop a fear of pain and punishment, they develop a fear of turning up to the class. Teachers also contribute to mentally and physically harming their own students. Some examples of this are gagging, blindfolding. A teacher in China also held their children by their ears. Teachers should ensure that lessons are fun, creative and engaging. This will reduce misbehaving in class. The Ministry of Education's vision is to create young people who are confident, connected, actively involved and lifelong learners. Corporal punishment does not instill these values. It creates a fear of the classroom and learning. Is this how we want our future generation of New Zealanders to grow up in?
States that children would be more careful of doing something wrong because they've seen what the punishment would be. But if a child is stressed about the teacher, they will either fight, flight or freeze. If they fight, they'll get into fights, be nasty and rude and get into lots of trouble. Flight, they'll run away.
won't turn up to school and just won't want to be there. Or freeze, completely shut down. Won't notice anything the teacher says because they will completely block out the noise of the teacher. If a student does freeze, they may seem disciplined, but it is really bad for their learning. My opponent also states that it would be teaching them what's right and wrong, and what's wrong. So if they're whacking them, it's not teaching them it's teaching them to punch people when they do something they don't like. Two wrongs do not make a right. My opponent also states that it saves a lot of time. But if the student is stressed, like nervous about getting whacked, they'll concentrate more on getting whacked, that they won't listen in class and contribute because they'll be more focused on being whacked. Freeman.
Today we're here to address the topic of corporal punishment. My opposing team has made some very indecisive statements. As the first one, the opening topic presenter has said, look at how bad child behaviour is now. Back in the day, child behaviour was a lot better than it is now. The child behaviour has strongly decreased, and now schools are full of bullies and bad people. Sad. Kids still would ask questions. They would be scared. Kids would still ask questions. They wouldn't be scared to get strapped because you're not going to get strapped for asking a question wrong. You'll get strapped for a lot more worse things than that. Zara. Child abuse? It's not child abuse. Child abuse, it is child discipline. Discipline a child, showing them what is right and what's wrong. Gabby. Since when did the teachers strap kids? Since the old days. They did it in the old days, and the child was so much better. Yeah.
We've heard some good arguments for and against corporal punishment. I strongly encourage you all to take the side of the affirmative because if you don't, I fear we will all suffer the consequences of a school filled of disruptive and disrespectful students. You've heard the three arguments presented by my teammates, and to jog your memory, they are: it will show disruptive children how to behave, it will teach them what's right and wrong, they should be punished straight away and save time. In closing, I think you will find that corporal punishment is a controversial subject. Its inclusion in school is discipline in an obvious and straightforward way of keeping disruptive students under control. This will make your school run more orderly and different students and benefit students, teachers and parents. I urge you to take the side of the affirmative team.
Punishment should not be allowed in school. The opposition might have said that being students is good for discipline and that inflicting pain will make students behave, but they are out of their minds if they think teachers should be allowed to treat students this way. Here are 5 compelling reasons why teachers should not strap students. Would you enjoy going to school knowing that you are going to be beaten by your teacher? I would surely not feel comfortable with that, would you? This is a horrible thought to contemplate. Supposing you've just been beaten severely by a teacher, do you seriously think that you could write with a throbbing pain in your hand, or even sit on your bottom after you've been strapped 50 times for a minor misdemeanor? Perhaps a student is getting beaten at home, and as well as bullies after school. Do you seriously think that what he needs is a serious thrashing during school? Will this benefit the student in any way at all? Corporal punishment is not good for teacher-student relationships. For example, a student with behavioural problems might respond better to words rather than pain. And finally, how can a teacher be certain that they have beaten the right person. Perhaps the student had been framed. History is littered with examples of people who have been put to death for a crime they've not committed. As you can see, there are many reasons why corporal punishment should not be legal. The cons far outweigh the pros, and it will be silly to allow teachers to treat their students with brutality.